Hi, everyone. This is Nancy with the DSWA, and we're so glad to be back with South Hill Designs this month again. And we have a wonderful speaker for you this evening. Her name is Linda Dunn, and Linda is an accredited coach and certified trainer with the DSWA with over 23 years of working in direct sales. She's worked with businesses and with personal coaching of leaders, and she has helped people really transform their business and, in some aspects, their life. She's a graduate of the Direct Selling Women's Alliance Coach Excellence School, and she has been head of sales, field development, and training at several large companies. As a coach and trainer, Linda has the pleasure of working with leaders with various skills and talents, and that gave her a lot of different experiences and a lot to be able to draw from as she presents this material tonight for you, which is called Building a Team Culture. So Linda looks at herself as a partner to those of you in the field who are building at whatever level you are in your company, and it's with great pleasure that I'd like to introduce Linda Dunn.
Well, thank you so much, Nancy, and hello, everyone. It's so wonderful to be with you. I think you're probably from all parts of the country and eager to learn more about the leadership path that you're on. So it's my pleasure to be spending this time with you. And so let's get started. Let's get to the next slide, and we'll go over what we're going to cover this evening. Well, as a leader at South Hill Design, you have the opportunity to lead by example and to exemplify the highest standards of excellence toward which your team will follow you and aspire as well. So in this webinar, we're going to discuss 3 ways to cultivate a healthy team culture. We're going to talk first about practicing and leading by example. We're going to secondly talk about promoting effective communication. And third, celebrating and learning together as a team. So let's eager to get underway. Next slide. Well, your culture is the component that can make or break your sense of community, your team community. If it is purposeful and promotes respect for all, your culture will strengthen your organization. And it's worth saying that creating a deliberate culture is worthy of your time and attention. It's an investment that will pay you dividends now and for years to come. You see, the leader of any team, company, or corporation really has a lot to do about determining the attitude of the entire organization. When you emulate a healthy team attitude or culture, you have a thriving and successful team. So I'd like you to think about some of the companies where you may have worked in the past or been affiliated in the past. Did you notice that if the leader had an uninspired outlook, that it really kind of trickled down to the subordinates or the other team members as well? See, when the team leader or leader of an organization has a healthy outlook, then so will the team. It's felt and duplicated by the team. As Nancy said, I've had the good fortune to work with many really wonderful and enlightened direct selling companies. Companies with a leader at the top that honored his or her people first and profit second. And you know what? That was a joyful place to work and an enriching atmosphere in which to grow. And I've also worked for companies with amazing potential and a great product, but unfortunately did not fulfill its potential largely because the leader did not have a vision and didn't value the employees in the field organization. I can think of one company in particular that saw the field as simply a means to an end, and that end represented making money for the company. And as you would expect, inevitably that leader never really got it, never really connected, and never understood why the company wasn't growing. It was simply because his values did not align with that of a successful company. Now, if you contrast that with a healthy company that thrives when the consultants and the representatives in the field thrive and comes from an attitude of gratitude and service, well, here respect and integrity are part of the fabric of the company. So putting respect and integrity first in your organization will get you the same results. Next slide, please. Well, great leaders, I have found, of any organization, walk the walk and talk the talk. And this is true for all aspects of the business, whether it's selling, booking parties, or recruiting. It doesn't matter. However, when the leader of a team asks for one thing and says and does another, well, that can be tough. That could be tough for the team to follow. Let's talk about sales. Most companies have sales requirements, and the leader must meet and exceed those requirements, hands down. When you, the leader, are setting the sales example for your team, they're going to follow right in your footsteps. And what about booking? A leader that has a full calendar will have a team who also has a full calendar. So when you're booking socials and teaching your team to market their business by your example, they too will use all their resources to generate bookings. Well, over my 23 years in this wonderful world of direct selling, I have worked with many amazing leaders who really impressed me with their unselfish and inspired leadership qualities. And I found that top leaders really do leave clues. They set the example by being less concerned about receiving recognition for themselves and more concerned about their responsibilities to their team. Great leaders will strive to be role models for their teams and everyone around them. And leaders who treated their teams with respect, took the initiative and prepared for the future, well, they were the ones leading the way. You see, they held themselves to the same standards as they encouraged their teams to meet. They didn't ask their teams to do anything they would not do. I call that leading from the front. They followed the rules, which encouraged their team to do the same, which in turn helped everyone perform better. And I found that those leaders who strive to be the best they can be at every part of the business encourage their teams to follow in their footsteps. Bottom line here, rank and title do not make someone a leader, but behavior and attitude absolutely do. May I have the next slide? So let's talk about your attitude as a leader. Your attitude, your healthy attitude, must be multifaceted and balanced. Setting the example for your team not only applies to sales and bookings, but it also applies to many other facets of the business. Say, for example, recruiting. When you come from a place of service, sharing the opportunity as a gift, the team, your team, will automatically follow you and follow suit. What about word choices, how you're talking to your team? We all know that words are very powerful. Speaking and using word choices that encourage your team to be successful is a habit that is really, it's developed. You can practice and make a commitment to making good word choices. At DSWA, we call this empowered language enlightened vocabulary. Enlightened vocabulary. For example, the difference between saying if as opposed to when in a sentence can impact the outcome. Let's say I said something like this. Sally, when you move up to the next leadership level, you will find the benefits so rewarding. As opposed to saying, Sally, if you move up to the next leadership level, you could find the benefits rewarding. See the difference? It's all different, but it plants the seeds of growth. Well, let's turn our attention to incentives. As a leader, your plan must be to earn all of the company incentives. You want to earn them so that your team will aspire to do that as well. Most top achievers will be able to earn the corporate incentives in less time than they're given. So are you on track to earn the next incentive for South Hill Design? An incentive is designed to be earned by the average artist when they stretch themselves. And as a leader, your plan must be to set the example and earn that incentive as well. How about a positive attitude? Do you emulate company policies and expectations? Remember that any negative remark you make about South Hill Designs will influence your team's belief and confidence in the company. When you create a healthy team culture, your challenges or concerns or any negative remarks only go up the ladder, not to your team. You know, in direct sales, there's always someone above you to support you through challenges by listening and hopefully coaching you to discover your own solution. And never is that more important than when there is an issue within a company that calls upon the leader to show her leadership. I can remember an instance when one leader I knew and made a very bad decision. She took it upon herself to share her feelings and concerns about a company incentive that she just didn't agree with. And she spoke about it in front of all of her team at a team meeting. It was very negative. Well, needless to say, it was disturbing. And that one error in judgment caused several members of her team to simply quietly leave the business. They just quietly left, stopped coming, and left the company. You know, she learned a valuable lesson that day about how to support her team and how to always make sure that any challenges or concerns you have are always going up the ladder and not down. Next slide, please. Well, a healthy team culture is one that sets the bar for all artists from day one, from your brand new artists as soon as they join your team. When you, the leader, have a system in place to get all your team members off to a great start and then set the example for them to follow, well, they're going to strive to be just like you. Absolutely strive to be just like you and follow your footsteps. So it's important to ask questions in order to build a coaching relationship with your potential team member very early in your discussion with that potential team member. Stephen Covey said in his book, The 7 Habits of Highly Successful People, seek first to understand and then be understood. You will find there are fewer objections when you let your prospect answer your questions and figure it out for themselves. After all, people typically do not object to their own answers, do they? So what are the most common interview questions that you ask potential team members? If you'd like to share, I would love to see them. You can write them into the area on the webinar, just in the question area. Please share your most common interview questions. We'd love to see them. While you're thinking about that, I'm going to give you a few interview questions that I have asked potential consultants, in your case, your potential artists, and maybe they'll appeal to you as well. The first one is, what will a successful business mean to you and to your family? What will a successful business mean to you and to your family? What does success mean to you? We all have a different definition, right? So what is success to you? What appeals to you about becoming an artist with South Hill Design? What appeals to you most about that? Or how will your new business impact how you feel about you? How will it impact how you feel about you? When interviewing or having a career conversation with potential team members, they may have concerns and questions as well. Examples of questions that they may ask you might include, how do I find customers? Do I have to recruit? Will I be expected to attend meetings? As a follow-up to this class, make a list of the common questions that you hear during the interview process, then take the time to create answers in the form of a question that will set the bar for expectations. What do I mean by that? Let me give you some examples. You may have a question like, how many hours a week will I need to work? Your answers might be, well, what would be a comfortable work week for you? Or how often would you like to share your South Hill Designs business with others? Or what amount of extra income are you looking for? See how I took the question and answered it with the question. Or you might get the question, how do I make money with this business? If someone asks about making money, I like to measure that potential team member's activity potential and commitment to her business by asking, well, are you looking for a little extra money each month? Or enough to help supplement your spouse or partner's contribution to the household? Or maybe are you looking to replace your current income? Another way of saying that is to ask, would you like to make an extra $50, $500, or $5,000 a month? Because knowing how much they want to earn will help you help them put an action plan together and set realistic time expectations. You can plant seeds around how important training is for their business and attending team events by asking questions during the interview process. For example, when a potential team member says, how do I receive training? Your questions for them might be, how would you like to receive training? That will help you determine whether they're a visual, maybe they're an auditory, or maybe they're a kinesthetic learner. It will help you present that training to them. Or what type of training would be important to you? Here's where you can determine what part of the business they might be strongest in. If they're excellent at sales, but really haven't had any experience in maybe sharing the business with others, then you could concentrate in that area. So let them tell you what kinds of training is important to them right off the bat. Or you could say, how important is it to you to be able to rely on a company training system? Oh, that's very important to me. Well, good, because we have that at South Hill Designs. This would also be an excellent time to reassure your prospect that she is in business for herself but not alone. Let her know that the company offers training and you provide live training meetings and conference calls. These questions and responses will help alleviate the concern, at the same time set expectations about the time investment your prospect will need to make. This also lets them know that it's up to them to take action and to participate. And so when they join the team, you've already planted the vision of them stepping into the training and taking advantage of what you and your company offer. So they'll believe that it's normal to go to meetings, and it's normal to share the opportunity, and it's normal to attend vendor events for bookings. By setting the expectations before your prospect even signs on the dotted line, members of your team will understand your meeting culture, and regardless of whether it's an online or live meeting, they will be there. It's part of the culture. You know, over the years, I've coached leaders whose meeting attendance oftentimes suffered. And you know what? It was discouraging for them. It can be very discouraging. So some of the coaching questions I would ask them were, how do you make your meetings fun and enriching? Or how do you engage your team members to participate and feel part of the meeting? And this encouraged them to think about it and to think about how they could build attendance. One solution we found was that the leader would ask a few coaching questions to each new team member when they joined. Questions like, Mary, what special interests or qualities do you bring to the team? Or what gets you excited about attending a meeting with your teammates? Or maybe you would ask, how would you like to participate? You're very creative. Would you like to maybe participate in some of the decorations? Or I know you know a lot about the business. Would you like to participate and do a little training for our group? Or how about refreshments? Would you like to bring refreshments? And I could always use someone for product display. Another great question to ask someone is, when you think of recognition that you value, underscore the word value, what comes to mind? That question and how they answer it helps you learn how they like to be recognized. That is so important. Next slide, please. Well, as a leader, I'm sure you also hear questions or concerns from your new team member about aspiring to leadership. When a new artist joins your team, inspire them by asking questions about their thoughts on leadership and treating them as if they were already leaders or at least destined for leadership positions. Here are some questions you can ask your new team members about moving up the ladder. What would you like to create in your South Hill Design business? What does that look like? What's your vision? Where do you see yourself a year from now in the business? Where will you be? What will you be doing? How will you feel? Well, what skills do you possess that would support you in growing a team? It gives them an opportunity to talk about all of their wonderful leadership qualities they have. So what questions could you ask a team member that would give you more insight into their view of leadership? I'd like you to write down as many as you can. This could be your homework. And if you'd like to share one in the question box there, please do. But take the time to write those questions down. May I have the next slide? As a leader, you can create aspiring leaders by your word choices in daily conversations. Planting seeds in conversations in your meetings or coaching calls with your team members will result in a growing team and a sponsoring culture. So take the time to think of a few seeds that you can plant in conversations that will later grow your leadership pool. Let me give you some examples. To create a desire for higher levels of leadership, you might say, now, Susan, how would moving up in the business impact you and your family? How would moving up in the business impact you and your family? Or how would taking a leadership role move you closer to the vision that you have for your business? How would taking a leadership role move you closer to your vision for your business? To create a desire for recruiting, you could say, whose life could you positively impact with an opportunity such as this? Whose life could you positively impact with an opportunity such as this? Or how would making someone else's life goals come true make you feel? How would making someone else's life goal come true make you feel? Plant the seeds and set that bar for leadership. And your team will be doing the same with their team. You know, you're also going to want to model the importance of personal development by letting your team know about the training that you're receiving, both inside the company and through outside resources. Let them know about any new ideas that you have applied or any new teaching concepts you've come across, any information that you can share. I call that being a student of the business, really learning all you can about this great occupation of direct selling. Next slide, please. Well, I think it goes without saying that communication is the key to all relationships. We've heard that over and over, and it's so true. Every part of your business happens as a result of relationship building, so communication is key. You are in a relationship with South Hill Design, with your team and your customers. Your team is in a relationship with you and with each other and with their customers. A leader who has an open door policy will be a leader who develops team camaraderie and a loyal customer base. So your team members are your customers as well. Take the time to listen to them and understand who they are and what makes them unique. Be available. And always check your email. Every good business owner checks and responds to their email regularly. Here's another tip. Be prepared for your outbound call. Always leave a message. You know, with technology today, it's essential that you have a legitimate reason to call. We are bombarded with contacts, all types of contacts. So when you know the reason that that you're calling, you'll be able to create a effective voicemail message. You'll have it mentally all formed in your head before you actually even make the call. That way it makes it easier to leave a on-target message. Effective messages will get more return calls. So think it through before you pick up the phone. And another tip, you're going to want to match your communication style with that of each of your team members. So if you're familiar with the DISC profile, your Ds, they just want facts. They're in a hurry typically. They just want quick calls, leave the facts, leave a message, and that they're happy. Your eyes are going to love an upbeat message. You can make as long as you want. Make it fun. Have a smile on your face, and your eyes will be happy as well. Your S's need you to slow down just a little bit, warm up your voice, make it very personal, and be sure you're calling them by name. They love to have their name called. And C's, well, your C's are going to need a lot of detail. So don't leave anything out. Otherwise, they're going to have to call you back and get more detail. So make sure that you're leaving the C's enough detail. You get the idea. So let's test your communication style. It's important for you to know what your communication style is. What's important to you in communication so that you can share that with others. So know your own communication style. Next slide, please. Well, we know that communication and relationships between you and your team is essential. We covered that. That's so important. Even more effective in developing a team culture is encouraging your team to develop relationships between themselves. We know that's critical. Now, as your team develops relationships, you will have improved team retention. A group of artists who talk and communicate regularly, have fun together, become friends, will be more committed to the business. There are many ways to build camaraderie. You can do it at your team meeting. You could do a sales incentive they team up to participate in your newsletters, and in connecting your long-distance teams with your local teams. A couple of quick examples might be a simple little icebreaker game at your live meetings to get your team talking to each other. So what are your favorite icebreaker activities? What's working in your team? Add them to your notes, and if you'd like to share one of your favorite icebreaker activities, that would be fantastic. You might want to create an incentive for the team that requires them to visit another artist party. Get to know each other a little better. Or how about having a webinar or Skype meeting in which your local artists come online and share with your long-distance team? That could do a lot for connecting all the people. You might want to think about hosting an activity such as a slumber party or a sports activity or pool party or a picnic. I love the concept of a family picnic once a year where everyone can come together, husbands, children, and everyone just has a wonderful time together as a family. So think about ways that you can create team dynamics and relationships that bond your team together. Share them with other people. Find out other people's ideas. And if you have one you'd like to share with us today, please write it in the Q&A box. You know, one of my coaching clients told me that she had originally joined her company to pay off her credit card bills, and then she was going to quit. I was a little surprised by that. But what she came to realize was that her real reason or emotional why was to be part of something bigger than herself. She just did not realize it. And it wasn't until she experienced the team culture and sense of community that it represented to her that she realized how much she needed that fellowship and new friends. So later, even though her financial needs had been met, the thought of leaving was no longer relevant to her. The team dynamic was that strong. May I have the next slide? One characteristic of a leader of leaders is the ability to develop excellent communication and camaraderie among her team. Another is her ability to focus her efforts on celebration, learning, and recognition. So whether you have a local team or a long-distance team, putting systems in place that encourage learning and growth as a team will create a culture that develops healthy relationships. What can you do to connect, to encourage learning, and to grow your entire team no matter where they live? What are your ideas around that? Start your list. How do you celebrate team growth and milestones along the journey? Celebrating your successes are so important. And we've all been to meetings that celebrate recognition, and most often that recognition celebrated the task or the occurrence, something someone did. So ask yourself what your results would be if you focus your recognition on the person and who they were being as opposed to what they did. We often hear recognition that sounds something like this. Yippee! Look at Lisa. Woohoo! Highest party average of the month. Way to go, Lisa. You are awesome. You must have been awesome at coaching your hostess. Good job. Way to go, Lisa. I'm sure you've heard that. You see, real recognition recognizes the person for their characteristics, not the task. So consider an acknowledgement something like this. I would like to acknowledge Lisa for her efforts in overcoming her fear of making calls. Lisa achieved higher sales this month as a result of the courage she embraced in order to call her potential and past customers. Lisa, you are an inspiring woman. Congratulations. As you can hear, that second example is all about what it took for Lisa to accomplish the higher sales. Keeping the focus on the person rather than the task will create a culture that supports all of your team. You know, one of my clients was exceptional at recognition, just exceptional. She had learned over the years that the value of recognition was priceless. And she also learned that it needed to come from a place of authenticity. So she began making notes during the month of the qualities and actions she noticed within her team. If someone was particularly kind to a new team member, she noticed. If someone went out of their way to help someone deliver product to another maybe artist client, she noticed. If someone came early just to help set up consistently or volunteered to bring refreshments, she noticed all these things. So during her meeting, she would bring each person up to share what she had observed them being as well as doing. And she came up with some special, fun awards to honor as many people as possible and gave them all just inexpensive little gifts. And she soon noticed that her meeting attendance continued to grow and grow as more and more were recognized. Wise, wise leader. So we've covered a lot. Let's recap what we've shared this evening. Remember, as the leader, it's up to you to cultivate a healthy team culture. Your team culture is a reflection of who you are being as much as the things you're doing. How are you showing up? How are you showing up? You are setting the tone for your team culture when you practice and lead by example and promote effective, on-target communication with your team. And then create an atmosphere of celebrating and learning together. Remember, the pace of the leader sets the pace for the pack. Set an inspiring pace for your team. You have choices. Choose inspiration. And you're going to have the success that you want. As DSWA co-founder and CEO Nikki Keohoha would say, lead with passion and coach with purpose. And you will be the leader of leaders that others choose to work with and to follow. I thank you, and I'm very happy to take any questions or hear any ahas that you might have had this evening.
Hi, Linda. I think that we've had such great information. This is an area of leadership development I think that people are not always prepared for and not always aware that's a skill that will be needed. But, something struck me as you were talking, and that is, I've heard the saying many times that people want to join a successful, happy team. Mm-hmm. Could you comment just on, do you have any thoughts about that statement?
Absolutely. What I've watched happen, and it was no accident, as I've been to meetings that had full houses, the reason for that was that everyone just enjoyed being together. It wasn't necessarily put on the leader's shoulders. In other words, she didn't have to be the hostess with the mostest and be entertaining. What she has done is create a platform, an environment for which people could thrive and be themselves and feel valued. And she set the example, but she quickly could see that people were emulating what she was doing, and they were modeling her. So if you're appreciating your people, taking care of them, acknowledging them, speaking to them with kindness, honoring them, others will do it the same because this is our culture. This is what the expectation is. There's no room for anything else. And so the environment's created, and people are joyful. They're joyful to be there. It's one place they can go without judgment. They can relax. They can be themselves. They can learn. They can be with friends. And it's actually very simple to create. Oh, that's a great question, Nancy. Thank you.
And I know both of us, Linda, having many years, both of us in indirect sales, have also encountered situations where I think Nikki's term for it is a toxic atmosphere. I wonder if, although we're trying to present a very positive model here, I think that people will understand what we say. What do you think of when that term is used, when Nikki uses that term?
Yeah, there's invariably there will be someone who maybe is new to the group, who doesn't understand what's expected and what the culture is, and may have some pre-existing opinions, or it's coming from a different business model or something, and they'll come into the group and create some anxiety. It becomes very obvious very quickly, and from a leadership perspective, there's a couple of approaches. If you need help with that, we can certainly coach you around what to say, but I would trust that all of you would be able very easily just to take that person aside and explain to them what the culture is and just what the expectations of people coming to the meeting are, in a very nice way, of course. But rather than ignoring it and letting it fester and having some residual effects on the rest of the team, it's important to just spend some time with that individual and let them know what is expected of them in the team event, and just what the boundaries are and what the guidelines are for being part of the group. Typically that will do it. May not always, but it's worth trying that first. And Nancy, please share any other comments you have about that.
Yeah, you've really just hit the nail on the head. It is really up to the leader to let people know what is allowed. That's kind of a broad term, but just how do we treat others in the group? Although we are in competition, what is the prevailing attitude? Do we help each other out when products are short and we might have one, or how do we handle situations where customers might have purchased from one person and now are purchasing from another? Those are all kind of the thorny questions in direct sales, and the way that the leader models that, how to handle that, always taking the high road and kind of letting people know that there's really nothing to be gained from being petty or being competitive. It makes us all look bad. That the leader really says, this is how we are and who we are, and I think really goes a long way for making people feel that they're in a professional environment and that there's some safety, that they will be asked to be the best that they can be and not kind of anything else but that.
I love that. They'll be asked to be their best. I love that, Nancy. That's so true. That's absolutely true.
I don't know if there are any other questions out there. We still have just a few moments left. If there is anything, please type it in, or
maybe an aha, or something you want to do right away. Recap some of the homework assignments of making your lists of questions and ways that you can generate camaraderie among your team. What are you going to try when you get back into your business? What are you going to try first? We'd love to see what those are.
Just thinking of another point too, Linda, that I know of someone who many years ago started building a team and really worked at creating a personality to that team. They got a name. They agreed they were going to show up a certain way. Maybe they were going to wear a certain color, or a certain, maybe they were all going to wear a certain accessory. More so, to identify themselves as a team, but also that bonding that said, this is the group that I associate, that I am proud to be a part of. And that team is still in existence. And we're talking, I think I knew of this team at least 25 years ago.
Oh, wow.
So that is a long time. Yeah.
Team spirit, yes. Team name, team color, oh yes. That's so much fun. That's so much fun. If you're having fun, what would make you leave? Absolutely. If you're having a good time and being successful in the business, why would you want to go anywhere else? Yeah, makes perfect sense.
Absolutely. And as you had said in the webinar that, people very often that are new to a team or to a company may show up at a meeting, and just based on what they see around them, maybe people are talking over each other or not respecting other people's input or decisions or whatever it may be, that can be enough for them, as you say, to just say, quietly walk away, because they see that this team is going to identify them, and that they think to themselves, do I want people to know that I'm with this team, seeing what I see happening? So, it's we know when it's bad. You spent a lot of time tonight talking about how to make it good and how to make it something that's kind of better than the people that are, together they were even better than they are alone.
Yes, and you know what? It's never too late. You can start today to implement new ideas and concepts. It's absolutely fine. And every once in a while check in with each other to get input, to find out how you can make it even better. Fresh ideas from your team. Involve them. That.
Okay. There's a question here, Linda. It says, how do you suggest handling a clash in personalities of a leader and an artist in her team?
Well, I'm a great one for believing in open and honest conversation. I think in disagreeing to maybe have a difference of opinion on some part of the business, or disagreeing to the fact that we have different personalities. If you understand the various personalities on your team, that's why it's so important to get to know them all. And everyone is a little bit different. But if you haven't looked into the DISC profiles as to how to work with various personalities on your team, I absolutely highly recommend you do that. It will make life so much easier for you, so that you can come from a perspective of understanding how to talk to that person, how to lead them, what you can anticipate as their reactions to things. It just saves you a lot of anguish and a lot of time. So rather than having them conform to your personality type, try to understand as a leader the best way to make and open up that conversation, communicate with them, lead them forward, and bring out the best in them. I hope that was helpful.
Yeah, and I would just add, Linda, that I'm glad you didn't say, let them resolve it, because, the leader has that opportunity and that responsibility to say, this we don't do, or this is how we are. And I've seen leaders who avoid confrontation at such a great cost that before you know it, the horse is kind of driving the cart. I mean, the cart's driving the horse, and, it's hard to tell who's leading who there, because strong personalities have never been corralled and never been helped to be productive in a group setting. And so once that horse is out of the barn, very hard to get it back in. So leaders are very wise to, much like parents do in some cases, be proactive, kind of nip things in the bud, and as you say, help people to get on the right track and be productive with each other as a team.
That brings up a good point, Nancy. We talked tonight about developing your culture. It's very important to know that if you're not taking the initiative and developing your culture the way you want it to be, your team will develop the culture instead. And it may or may not be the culture that you want for your organization. So that's why it's important for you to begin that that development of your own culture. Make a decision about what you want that culture to look like, to sound like, to create for your team, to experience and develop that culture as the leader. That prompted me to say that when you said about the passive part of it. Sometimes it's a little hard for certain personality types to take that initiative, but believe me, it will pay off in so many ways long term for you if you do it yourself early.
Absolutely. Well, I see that there are no other questions. Is there anything you'd like to kind of close with, Linda, and we can wrap the call up?
Yes. Well, thank you so much. Just to wish you all the very best. Your company is very exciting. This is a very important time in the life of South Hill Design. It's on the map. There's a buzz out there about your company. You're doing great things. And to be a leader at this point in time with your company is not only amazing and fabulous, but it's also a responsibility. And all of you have tremendous greatness and abundant wisdom inside of you. And I encourage you to use all those gifts, create your team culture, march forward with that, and lead the way for the teams that will come after you. And I wish you every success. And I also wish you great joy, because this is an amazing business. And I can see you all very successful. So thank you again for the opportunity. South Hill Design. I'm so happy to be here.
Thank you so much, Linda. And I just want to remind you all that June 17th will be the next call for this leadership team at South Hill Design. We hope that you all have a very pleasant evening, and we look forward to speaking with you again.